name is Lucinda Campbell. I'm an oil painting artist and I've been painting for about 10 years, and normally I travel a little bit doing art shows. I do some painting classes and also private commissions, but right now the world's going crazy and everybody is at home. So I thought, instead of people needing to miss class, I thought this is a really good opportunity to post these classes on YouTube so you can do them at home. And if you're like me, you have a box or two of paints laying around that you have not used, that you bought for a rainy day, and hopefully this is that rainy day. So before we get started, I just wanted to introduce you to my studio. This is where I work. Everything that you see behind me is currently for sale. They are all oil paintings. And so you can private message me or email me after class if you're curious about anything, and I can get back to you on prices and shipping. So today what we're going to work on is this Martini glass. This is just painted on regular art canvas board. That's what I originally painted it on, but today I'm just going to be using something a little bit bigger so that you can see it better. We are going to be painting this in acrylic, but you can use oils or really any paints that you have laying around the house. These are just really cheap craft paints, and it just really doesn't matter because the colors are so bold. You should have a good piece by the time that we're done. And the objective is so you don't have to go out and buy something that you don't already have. So this is what we're going to do today, and we'll get started. Okay, so I just have a blank canvas, and I know for some people one of the scariest things in regards to painting is the drawing part. So I'm going to show you how to sketch this out in a way that's pretty simple. These brushes are more than just brushes, they are tools. And so I've got a pencil here. This is our guide. I'm just going to make a line across the top, just like so. Just gives me a little bit of a guide there. And I also have a piece of paper that I'm going to use. And what I tell people in class sometimes is, if you're nervous to touch the canvas, practice what you're going to do first on just a regular piece of paper. You can paint on this, draw on this, practice ahead of time before you touch your canvas if you're nervous. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a little squiggly line like that, okay? And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, but again, it doesn't have to be perfect, okay? If you are nervous about it, I want to show you how to do this another way. You've got a nice shape of your glass here. So what you can do is cut this out. Put that on your canvas, and I'm just going to go ahead and go over mine just for the sake of demonstration here. Once we start painting over it, you're not going to be able to see a whole lot anyway. Flip that puppy over, and you've got a format that you can use as a guide. You see how that worked? So this can really help you. So you see my old line here. This is my new line. I'm just going to erase my old line. Now go ahead and make this a little bit dark because we're going to be doing our background, and we want a little bit of this to show through if you can, if you're nervous about it. It doesn't have to, but sometimes it's helpful. So I'm going to make a couple of marks down here about in the center. I'm just going to make a stem. for the base of the stem, just a little oval here. Doesn't have to be anything impressive or fancy, just a little oval. And we want our water line. So you can get your brush again. Just use this as a guide. Okay, we've got the basis of our drawing. We've got a couple of olives here, and I like my olives to be huge. I like that in real life, and I like it in art. Big olives. So, again, use your piece of paper to practice your drawing if you want to. Got an olive here, a nice little, gonna be a red center, another olive. Nice. Okay. And we're going to use this again for our toothpick. All right. I'm going to darken this up a little bit because our background here is pretty dark, and I might end up losing some of this line, and that's okay. But just in case, the darker this is, the better, because you're going to go over this in dark paint, so you're going to lose these pencil lines anyway. Okay, so guess what? We've got our sketch ready, and we are ready to put color on here. Okay, we're going to pause. Okay, so like I shared with you earlier, these are just very simple craft paints. I've got a little plastic plate with tin foil over the top of it. Hopefully you got that at home. The brushes that I'm going to be using, I have a variety of different brushes. This is just kind of a wide, flat brush. It is a 1 inch. I love these. These are a little 1/2 inch, and they've got a really nice tip on the end. But what I'm really encouraging people is I want this piece to be relaxed and fluid enough that you're able to paint this with whatever brushes you happen to have on hand. This is a good basic size, but if you don't have that size, that's okay. I think that we can work with this, with the technique we're going to use. So we're going to start with our focal point, which is this heat. And I've already squeezed out the paint onto the plate here, and I'm going to use kind of my wider brush here. And I like to make it kind of chunky. I like the paint to kind of stand up a little bit. And I'm going to move through this fairly quickly because the beauty and the hard part of acrylic is that they tend to dry quickly. And so when we're painting with acrylics, I kind of like to push people through the blending process, because once it starts to dry, oh, it is just not blending friendly. So I'm kind of you see my brush stroke here, I'm making X's. X, 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 X. And what that does is it gives you some freedom. There's kind of a saying that you don't want your paintings to be too tight. You want them to be kind of loose. It's more fun. And people in general are, I don't know, I guess more attracted to loose painting. It's almost like you can feel the tightness or the stress. I don't know what it is when you're painting, but I want it to be just a little bit loose and have fun with it. It's like, if you're having fun with it, you can transmit that to other people. There's a saying that I have on one of my closet doors that the most beautiful form of art is making other people happy. And I agree with that. I don't think it matters really what you're doing, But if you can make somebody else happy with what you're doing, then, you know, that's beautiful. That's a form of art. So this is going to be its best if you have a smile on your face and you're enjoying what you're doing. And literally, if you can see this, I am just making X's. X, 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 X. It's calming. It's a low stress movement. We've been making X's since we were about 3 years old with our crayons. I'm going to go in with some of this darker red. It's called a cardinal red. It's just slightly darker. And I've got, this one is a berry wine. And as you can see, I'm kind of graduating from my heat source out to the cooler areas in the background here. Bring some of the dark down. And now I'm going to start pulling in some blue. Oh, it's really dark. Really dark. I'm going to take, I like the turquoise spots too, so I'm going to pull that in. And just play with this. As you can see on this piece, I've got a little bit of white down here in the corner. Don't be afraid of whatever paint you happen to have. You know, play around with it on a side canvas or on your piece of printer paper or whatever you have until you've got some of the colors down that you like. But you don't have to stick with these colors, you know. This can be just whatever colors you need in your kitchen. The idea is to start with a focal point, start with a heat source, which we have down here. And this can be, you know, orange or white and yellow, you know, pale yellow. And then you can graduate. This darker color could be the purple, if you like purple. So I'm just kind of playing. That's what I'm doing. I'm having fun. I'm going to put a little bit of that turquoise down here too, just for funsies. Might bring a little bit more of a uniform feel to see. Yeah, I kind of like that. It's kind of fun. Sweet. All right. Okay, so I kind of like that. That's fun. So go ahead and let this dry before we move on to the next spot. I'm going to let mine dry, so we'll take a brief pause, and we'll come back with our pencil and just kind of define some of our lines. Okay, so I think mine is dry enough to go ahead and move forward. So I'm going to go ahead, and I've got some dark navy blue here that I'm going to use to outline. You might want to use a little bit of black. There's kind of a rule in painting that you don't want to use a ton of black if you don't have to. That you can make plenty of dark colors without having to use black. I'm just going to go over the line that we've already made here and bring that down. Okay, so we're going to come down here with our little stem, little blue stem. left over in the beginning. Okay, got our basic outline here and our liquid line. Okay, that gives us kind of a guide, and we're going to go ahead and sketch out our green olives. So I've got just a couple little baby brushes. Any type of a small brush, smaller than the tip of your finger, is going to be okay for this. And I'm going to squeeze out some green. I've got a hooker's green here. I have just a bright green, a folk art, acrylic bright green. I'm just going to use a couple of these. And you can darken it with a little bit of blue. You can brighten it with a little bit of yellow. Just kind of have fun with the shading. Like I said, it can kind of just be how you want it to be. Now, because our light is coming from this direction, we want our heat to be on this side and our shadowing over here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a mixture of the yellow and the green. I want this side to be the brightest. And I'm going to use a real dark green on the outside. I'm actually going to use some of that navy blue and that green back here. It's going to be really dark. And then I'm going to slowly wipe off my brush a little bit. I'm going to slowly, in the direction of the olive, I'm going to scrape those two colors together. So remember that acrylics dry pretty quickly. So if it feels like it's getting a little bit too dry to blend, because mine's doing that a little bit right now, I'm just going to add some more paint. I'll scrub in what I have first. I'm going to add a little bit more. And as we get towards the center, darken that up just a little bit. And it's okay to have a little bit of that red in the background shining through. There is nothing wrong with that at all. It kind of adds to the realness of the look, because in nature or whatever it is that you're painting, you always have these refracted pieces of light that you can see on other surfaces. Make a little the red part of our olive here, the center, and that is fairly red. More of a highlight kind of up here. Just a little. Take dry brush, and you don't have to do this. This is just something I'm choosing to do, and just kind of blend that in a little bit. It is absolutely amazing what a dry brush can do for you if you get to your paint in time. It's just miraculous. Okay, so I'm happy happy with those olives. So I'm going to go get a clean brush and one of these skinny little flat brushes. And as long as this isn't too wet, you can pretty safely drop your paintbrush in and just kind of review that line. I've lost some of my line out here. I have some right here. So I'll follow a little bit of what I have. And I'm going to do some blue and some yellow. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of white in there. It's not going to be the exact same color of a toothpick. That's okay. Might end up kind of a muted, lighter gray color. And that is just really, really fine. Really fine line there. You don't want it to be, you know, the main thing that's standing out. You just want it to be a faint idea. You want to do something fun at the end of that stick there, by all means. Okay. So we are ready for a little bit of some color on the glass and a little bit of some highlights. So I'm going to take this lighter color that I have, it's a little bit of white, and I'm going to put some really fine lines here, like on the edge of my olive here. That is just going to make that pop out. And there's this wonderful little tip about shadows and highlights, that if your object is cool, you want the warmth on it to be warm colors. If your object is warm, you want the warmth on it to be cool. It's that contrast between cool colors and warm colors. So I've got yellow here. White is actually a cool color. And I'm going to use this white to highlight on the very tip on the other side of that yellow. See how that just makes it pop? I'm going to go underneath just a little bit on this olive. Tiny, tiny little detailed lines. A little bit on the edge here. Not a lot. I'm going to take some of this light blue and make some highlights right around my glass. A little bit of some kind of a muted white just on the edge for a nice highlight there. I'm going to warm it up, I think. A little bit of yellow. There we go. And we'll put some of that reflected right on the stem too. Of course, we're going to have some on the top here. Some on the edge. I'm also going to highlight the rim up here just a little bit, just so you don't forget that it's there. So what we're going to do with the liquid, this is kind of fun, we're going to take some of your red and your white. I'm going to make a little bit of pink. You're going to get it really wet. I'm dipping into my water here and I'm just dropping some water in here. I want to make this really, really fluid. Part of the reason why this is a good idea that this is dry, because we're going to basically very gently be painting right over the top. See, there's just a little bit of a fluid coming down. You can barely see it. And then I'm going to take my dry brush. Stuff's too wet, then you can see how it would kind of blend in. You could roll over your olives and, you know, be unhappy. But if it's dry, you can get away with that. I'm going to go over mine just a little bit more. I want the look of some liquid coming over these olives. And I think I'm dry enough now to make that work. And take my dry brush here and kind of smooth that around. Just kind of gives the eye an idea that there's something busy going on in this glass. Yeah. So, if you want to, now this piece has just kind of some funky drips coming down, which of course you can do that if you want to. Do not have to. It is your painting, and you can do whatever you want. So as you can see, I've painted this a few times, slightly different ways. Because that's the thing, is that if you're just not happy with one way, you know, paint it again. Do something different. That's kind of the fun thing about these classes too, is that everybody's painting is going to turn out a little bit different, and that's exactly what you want. There's no way that this is going to look like what you do, and I would love it if you would send me pictures of your end result. That would be absolutely fantastic. While your colors are out and everything's still wet, don't forget to paint your edges too, so that if you want to, you can hang it up in about an hour. And the other thing is important to sign it. Don't forget to initial the bottom. I will initial mine really quick with just an L and a C. I'll get my smaller brush here. My little baby brush. There we go. So thank you so much for coming today. And there was a really important part of my class today that I need to introduce you to. It is my fearless and wonderful photographer, my camera girl, Cassidy. Do you want to say hello?
Hi, I'm Cassidy. I'm Auntie's camera girl, and I hope you enjoy seeing her channel.
She is doing awesome. Bye. So, thanks for joining, and depending on the comments and the results and things that come back, we might do this piece again in oil. And I've got some other things coming up too, so I will see you soon.
Hi guys, it's me, Cassidy again, Auntie's camera girl. And just remember, all these oil paintings that you see behind me and in front of me are available for purchase. You can private message her. Her Instagram and Facebook links will be in the description. And hope you guys have fun. See you next time.